Okay, today we're looking at elements of tone and form, learning to shade correctly, and I'm going to start off by looking at this band here, and starting off with the lights and darkish. You can label them 1 to 6 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What I'm going to do straight away is put the darkest tone in and really press down hard with my pencil. Getting the range is very, very important, so with a 2B pencil you press really, really hard. Possibly students in the past haven't exerted enough pressure on the pencil, hence the range isn't as strong or as true. So this should be the darkest part, as hard as you can do it, maybe the tone of your blazer, Finchley Catholic High School blazer, nice and dark, you can see here. Generally some of the boys in the past have done this kind of shade there, not dark enough as you can see. So really press down hard, don't be afraid to do that. And then in the centre here, we can look for 3 or 4, leave number 1 as it is, maybe 3 or 4 look at the shade of your Finchley Catholic High School jumper. So you can see this is a mid-tone here. Not as dark as number 6, but we're establishing the range. Number 1 here won't be touched at all, that'll be the white of the paper. You can see the white of your shirt. And then gradually, by judgment, that's roughly a tone there, you have to create tones which correspond to the left and right. Obviously here this one's getting slightly darker, so it's very important we get the central one correct to give us a true range. So this one's going to be slightly darker here, you can see. Again, the difference between a 2B and a HB is 2B pencils got more charcoal in it. HB pencils have more graphite, so they're actually a harder lead, which will make the marks not so strong. 2B obviously, it's got more charcoal in, which will lend itself to creating different tones with the brush. And you can see here, slightly lightening that one. Obviously if you have more squares you could have a greater range, but as you can see from here we've established quite a nice tonal range there. Now if I beam in, you can see the range developed there. Now what I'm going to do is concentrate on some of the other shapes in here, and we've got a cube which I'm going to shade in here. Obviously the light is coming from this area here, so obviously this part will have a darker tonal range here. We'll put that one in, possibly corresponding to number 3, slightly in the shade there. And the light's hitting obviously the top here, so we'll leave that as number 1. And then we can generally put the number 2 tone here. Again, don't worry if you make mistakes, you can use the rubber, the eraser to rub out the marks if you feel that you've got them wrong. See what I'm doing it here? Okay. Try and get consistency when you actually shade these in. You can see here, all in the same direction. The tone of number 2 would suffice here. Obviously number 3 is slightly down on that, gives you a 3-dimensional effect. Now what we're going to do is use a sphere. We're going to make the sphere look 3-dimensional. So what I can do is beam in again. And what I'm going to do is look at the sphere. The light's coming from this direction here, but I'm going to actually pretend that I was an ant walking around this tennis ball, for instance, and look at some of the marks I'm making here. I'm going all the way around the back. There's the ant's path going all the way around here, all the way around the back. And what I'm creating is contour lines to establish where the range of tones would be going. You can see again, and around the top here. As if you were to split an orange or a tennis ball in half, what would you see? You get something like this happening. See, these lines here are the lines which are on the front of the ball, and I'm pretending that I'm going around the back here. These little dots you can see. So what you're creating is that kind of pathway where the tones are going to fit, like so. And the students tend to, in the past, create the lines, the tennis ball, but what they do is they make them all kind of slightly out of skew like this, but you must keep them straight. So you're dissecting the tennis ball. And then what we're going to do is we're going to actually take some of the tonal ranges here and begin to follow with my dots, finding where the light would hit, and we'll find the light would hit around about here. So we'll leave a small area here where the light's hitting that, and then gradually we're going to follow the lines around. We'll beam back a bit. Like so, and we're going to create a small shadow here as well on the bottom tennis ball. And the tonal range, the darker tones, as number 6, would be at the bottom, and the lighter tones would be nearer the top. So as you can see here, again following the three-dimensional form around the contour lines. These dots form will gradually denote three-dimensionality of the sphere. This might take a little bit of a long time to do. I mean, sometimes the students enjoy doing this because they can see the actual results after 5-10 minutes of producing these dots which follow the form. At the top, obviously, we've got number 2 tone, and somewhere down here where I am now, I've got number 3. But it's important first of all to just establish the really dark ones at the bottom here. Again, rubbing out some of the areas here. It's quite irritating for some of the teachers to hear these dots being put down by the students when you've got 20 of them, but the effect nonetheless is what we're after, so we can put up with that. You can see here that number 6 is put in place now, and the bottom here, and you can actually see the formation now of a sphere. Going around the top, following those contour lines still, and not touching number 1 here, this part here, because that's where the light's hitting. actually see that we have created a three-dimensional sphere. Now we're going to go onto the cylinder, which again, we've got the contour lines which we can establish here. This one possibly being a bit easier because we've already established how to create contour lines there. And again, number 6 around the edge, number 6 tone around this edge here, and then gradually the centre will be probably the lightest. You're going from number 6 down to number 5, again following the aunt's path. Obviously you can put the tones down and add to them like I'm doing here. Better to add to the tone and to make it too dark and make a mistake. So we're adding here, then we're going into the central part, which will be number 3 or 4, just establishing number 6 here, nice and dark, you see. And by changing the tone around the cylinder, gradually what we're doing is creating three-dimensional form because we're following the contour lines and we're changing the tone. So it shows a great deal of turn. By not doing this, for instance, if you were just to do that, just one tone, obviously it wouldn't work, you can see that. Then on the top, you can kind of shade darkest at the back, coming lighter here. And this gives you three-dimensional form. All the great artists use a range of tone in their work. Artists like Van Gogh, Caravaggio, Rembrandt would all work in this way. Okay, that's the end of the demo.